but my internet's sucky. So it's Wednesday, right? It usually sucks on Wednesdays. I'm gonna go turn Jenny's internet off too. See if that will help at all.
Okay. Let's see. The last time it let me go to, yeah, let me share it in there too. All right, go live. It shows that we are live. I'm waiting for Facebook to pop up.
Okay.
But I think that we're good. So, Erin Raber, welcome.
Hello, friend.
I'm so excited.
Look at us. We started on time today.
We did start on time. It's 9:01. I don't know if it went up right at 9, but it's 9:01.
Hey, that's good for us.
Yes. Last week we were way behind. And hey, technology, first time out.
Yes. I started 15 minutes early just to make sure.
Yes, I love that. So let's start digging in. So I posted on the Instagram story that we're going to dive into people. And this came about, I had two things happen yesterday that just knocked me on my rear, let's say, just from one from surprise and one from something that I'd forgotten. So I was at an industry event a while back and I recorded a video right after hearing someone speak, and Euphora posted the video yesterday, or a segment of it, and I totally forgot about it. And the reason that I posted the video was because I just heard someone say, and this is like the 2000th time that I'd heard it, that the biggest problem that salon owners face is in their people, and it's hiring and retaining and all of that stuff. And I think on the surface, that's the same thing that I hear anytime that I'm talking to salon owners, like, how do I get more people? How do I this? How do I that? And, you know, the question of how do I get more people, I get it. Yeah, you've got to fill your business up. And if you're in a space of, whether that's because you're in a space of growth, because your business is growing, or because you've lost people, how to walk out, whatever, like, yes, you need to get people. But it's interesting to me that very rarely do we focus, just as salon owners, on how do we keep those people and what should be happening. It's almost like the industry's told us over and over, it's inevitable that people will leave. And I've heard people say that. And are people going to leave? Absolutely. Are there going to be things that are going to happen? Absolutely. However, there's a lot more of it happening than is necessary. And so the first thing that has to be tackled, the real problem in salons, the real biggest problem that most people are not dealing with, is that everything in their businesses begins and ends with them. And that's the people, that's the hiring, the firing, the all of it. And you've heard me say a million times, because I say it in classes all the time, I think the last person that I really hired on my own was probably 5 years ago. And the reason, and I said this on a panel in front of a bunch of sales consultants, and one sales consultant got a little fussy with me after it was all over. Like, she was really mad at me for some of the things that I said. But she said, it's a red flag if you can't hire people in your business, because I walked away from hiring. And the reason I walked away from hiring was because I was not good at it. Every single person that I hired exclusively on my own, that person would end up leaving. And what sits at the core of it is that I'm the type of person that believes that I can fix anyone. That I'll see little red flags and things like that. I see them just like everyone else does, but I see the good in everyone, and I see the great that can be brought out in them. And I think and believe that it's going to be like some magic thing that's going to happen. And my team could see right through it. And every time one of those people would leave, my team would be like, Ashley, like, we knew this, or they were saying this, or they said this before you hired them, or whatever. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Well, so I just got rid of the problem. I took myself out of it, and I gave it to them. And along with, obviously guidelines and things like that, and the things that we want to do and who we're looking to have in the business. But it's not a good idea for me to be a part of it unless there are some times where one of them may ask me to meet someone. But there's so many times now where I don't meet somebody. Sometimes if I'm traveling a lot, I don't meet them until after they've been there for a couple of weeks. So
yeah, for you.
I'm like, oh, it's nice to meet you. But the biggest thing, the foundational thing that we have to look at first is, before we start thinking like, where do we need to go? How do we need to recruit people? How do we keep them? How do we this? You got to first look at your part in all of it and see what are the things and elements about yourself that have to be shifted, modified, different. What are the elements about your business that have to be shifted, modified, and be different? So that when you do bring people in, number one, you're attractive. You have to be attractive to people, and not just because of what you say, but because of what's actually happening in the business. You have to have systems and processes and career paths set up so that way people know exactly what they can do. And then you've got to have the systems in place to be able to help them move along. And it's one of those things where I feel like we as an industry have gotten so skewed. We've allowed people to skew it and allowed people to let us continue asking these questions. And facilitators will get up and continue to answer these questions and not say the real truth to people, which the real truth at the end of the day is that the first thing that you need to look at if you're bleeding out in people or you can't hire people is you need to look at yourself and you need to look at your business. What do people want? What do people need? And then you need to create that within the vision of what you see and what you want for your business. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, just the overall, this people problem that we seem to believe that we have, and we might have a people problem, but just at the core of it, what really sits there and what do you see or hear around the industry?
Well, I get the same questions. Like, I think that is a thing that people want to know. Like, how do you hire and how do you keep them? But I'm the same way with you. I don't hire people because I'm the same person. I love everybody. I find the good in everybody. I'm like, I can make that work for them. Once they get in our program, they're going to fall in love and we can make it happen. Excuse me. Well, we can make it happen. But same thing. I think I probably learned pretty quickly. Like, this one's 8 years old. I probably stopped hiring. Really was never just me hiring ever. But I took myself out of the equation probably 2 years in, because the same thing is like, I'm not the one training these people. So first of all, I think the people who are trainers need to be the interviewers. And then I think the people that they're going to be with all the time. So we don't do that. We have them come in and shadow first. And shadowing is more like we're on stage. They're interviewing us at that point. Are we going to be a fit? Can they see themselves working with us? And we have them fill out questionnaires and really encourage them to stay for like an hour or as long as they want, but at least an hour. And we encourage them to really talk to partners that they're going to, because that's our first step at the salon is we only hire straight out of beauty school. their first step would be to go into the partner program. So talk to them, see what it's like, because most people have an idea of like a partnership or apprentice is like you're their slave, and that's not the case in ours. So anyways, we have them do that. If they like it and they really think that they want to work with us, then we'll have them, their first interview would be with Sam, who's our education manager. Sam likes her, then they meet with Abby, who's our trainer. And usually by that point, they'll get together and talk and they decide. So I'm like you, I'll show up to a meeting. I'm like, oh, hey, you. Who are you? I'm Erin. I own the place, but it's nice to meet you. That's always our joke too. Like every time somebody gets hired, it's like our monthly meeting. Just throw them in the first, and then I'll meet them at our monthly meeting. But I 100% agree. It's us, and I think I kind of said it last week too. Like a lot of people become salon owners because we think we can do better than the person before us, and then instead of looking at like what do I need to do, it's just what can I can be a better leader. I can tell people to do things better instead of how do I better myself. I mean, I 100% agree.
I love that.
We too, like a lot of people become salon owners because we think we can do better than the person before us. Oh, cool. Who's that voice? I need to do.
That
it's just
is
what
us.
can I can be.
I was trying to mess around with the technology, and you know how that goes. Whenever I try to do that, that's just not good. So Erin, I love everything that you said. Krista did point out your mic is still going in and out a little bit. So I don't know what's going on, but let's just try everybody to just be on top of it as much as possible. Read lips because it's really good information. So you shared part of your process, and that's very similar to what we do. So we have Marlene, who's at the salon, is really integral in having a part. She's kind of over the team. Mm-hmm. So not kind of, she is like over the team, just making sure that we're connected and people are loved on and all of that stuff is happening. And so she really helps lead the charge. And then of course, Bracy is a big part of the recruiting process, and all of the team members participate and go through this. We have a young, I say young, I mean, she's been with us for 4 years, but Olivia also participates in that beginning process. And so it gives perspective. Marlene's been with us since the beginning. She's seasoned. Olivia's a young stylist and has been through our partnership program, knows what that's like. They're really the first touch point almost always for anyone that's going to come into the salon. And that first interview is like just a quick touch point. It's just bam. It's really just, are you us? Are we you? That's it. Are you us? Are we you? I don't care about your skill set. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to know, are we us? Are we you? Are you us?
Right.
And at that point in time, if they feel a good feeling, then they'll invite them into shadow, and they come into shadow for 4 hours minimum. And when they come into shadow, the whole team knows now, like your job. And I used to put the team on a secret mission, like before somebody would come, but now they just know. So here's the deal, team. Your job is to go find out what's wrong with them.
Right. They love that.
Go find out what's wrong with them. Work to trip them up. And it's not to be cruel and unusual. It's just people are going to be the most raw with people that they feel like have no say in whether or not they get hired. Secrets out, like at Fringe, in order to get hired, the team really is the one who's going to hire you. So you better get your stuff straight. But I mean, we have had some crazy stuff happen in those shadowing times. And I remember there was a gentleman who was either finishing up cosmetology school or something, and he worked at a strip club and did the hair and makeup for the strip club. So I sat down with them at the end of the shadowing day, and I was just like, this is when they still wanted me to talk to people, which now they're like, get out of it. But I sat down with them and I was just asking some questions, and he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I can't wait to bring the strippers here. And it's in all this. And this is not anything against anyone's career choice. Look, that's not what this is about. But it was the openness with which he already had when he started jumping into everything. And he was honestly kind of crass in the way that he was talking about it. There was a lot of profanity, and I mean, I cuss with the best of them, but there was a lot of profanity, a lot of things. And we know that when people show up, that's the best that they're showing up. That day is the best that you're getting until they grow and they move forward and all of that stuff. But you find out so many things about people when you just let them loose and allow them to be free in an environment and just be with other people. And it's just fascinating what ends up happening. And so I would encourage every single owner to, in that shadowing time, like, get out of the way. Get out of the way and honestly choose your most judgmental team members. These are the people who are like rabidly protective of your culture. Like, they do not want to work with people they don't like. And this isn't about like, we'll have conversations like, this isn't about like who you want to go have wine with after work or whatever. Who are these people? Do you want to spend the majority of your life with these people? Because we spend so much time at work. We want to make sure that those people are people that we want to spend our time with, first of all. So we have that. What else happens in your hiring process? What are some of the things that you guys do?
Trying to think. That's like our biggest thing, is having them come in and shadow. But like we said, we have an actual questionnaire. The whole team knows. So we'll have like a paper in the back. Can you hear me now, or is it still being weird?
Nope, it's good.
We'll have a paper in the back that will say like, welcome so-and-so. So the whole team knows that someone's in there, and we're supposed to be on our best behavior. But that's a whole, I mean, we want to be kind to people, but we are secretly looking to see like, oh, they wore that. Like, if they really wanted to work here, wouldn't you think that they've done research about the place to know that maybe they would have dressed up a little bit? You'll have people coming in sweatpants and a gross, just no makeup, ponytail, like, so we just look for stuff like that. And then if we really like them and they want to work here, then we'll do the interviews. But I think 2 interviews usually, and then they go through our partner phase, and they know during that they have like a 90-day, they're not officially hired in for like 90 days. It's kind of like our trial basis to make sure, because we all know, like I said, they're usually on their best behavior, and then slowly, week after week, you start seeing the real them. And like, man, that's where we always get bamboozled. Like, about 4 weeks in, the freaks come out, person.
4 weeks in, the freaks come out. I love that. One thing that we started doing, and Bracy actually posted this in one of the comments, is whenever we do whenever someone submits their resume, we immediately respond with, we respond with a questionnaire. And so they have to submit a questionnaire, but we ask for a 60-second video. And it's just, why do you want to work here? Like, it's basic. So we want to see, first of all, who does it. Right. Because a lot of people will not do it. And that tells you something right there about the importance of them doing it, their fear level, all of that stuff. Are they going to be willing to go off the crazy deep end with us? Because let me tell you, there are some things that we do that you got to be willing to go off the crazy deep end. You got to be willing to jump. Right. And so that tells us something, but that's been one of those really powerful things that tells you a little bit about someone, that just having them submit a video before they even get to come into the salon has moved some things forward and has allowed us to see some people and vet some people out before we even get them in the door. Because if we spent time with every single person who submits a resume or works to come in, that's all that we would do. So that helps as well.
That's awesome. That's something that we have talked about. We have flyers. So like when we go into the beauty schools, we'll do like complimentary classes just to get them to know about us a little bit. And we'll pass out flyers. And on our flyer, it says, if you're interested, send us in a 30-second commercial. We've yet to get one. But that's new. That's new for us.
We've seen that too. So tell me this. So if you're hiring people, so let me share the other story. So I shared the story about the video that Euphoria posted that reminded me of the whole fact that this needed to be a topic that we dove into. But the other thing that happened yesterday is I had someone who I love, love, love dearly who called me yesterday, who's in sales. And I would say sales, consulting, all of that, like does an incredible job helping to push salons forward. And they'd worked with a salon to help them get in control of some financial stuff. And in that process, they had adjusted some compensation. And in adjusting that compensation, they had to walk out.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that she was asking was, is there any magic, something that I haven't thought about recruiting people? And, I really said, look, there's no magic, but these are the things that we do. So before I share what we do, I would love to hear from you first. What are things that you guys do to recruit? So you mentioned you have flyers. What are things that you guys do to recruit? And are you recruiting hairdressers that have clientele? Are you recruiting just new out of school, or a little bit of both? What does that look like for you?
So the first thing that I learned a couple years ago, that I never even dawned on me, is to first off on your website have a page that you're hiring, that you're always hiring. People always like wait to the time that they need to be hiring, and then it's like torture, and then you are desperate and you take on people that you really know don't fit your culture. So always be hiring, number one, and social media, number two. Don't just speak to your guests that you want to attract. Speak to people that you want to attract working in your salon. So they say like your Instagram's kind of telling a story. It's a picture of who you are. So speak to the people that could possibly be working for you. Now, we only hire out of beauty school. Well, there have been a couple. I can't hear you. Want me to keep going? Can you hear me?
No, you keep talking.
Okay. So we only hired out of beauty school, and so we're in the beauty schools a lot, doing complimentary classes, and we're always hiring everybody. We're open to everybody. Stylists, nail techs, estheticians. We really want barbers so bad. And then our guest sales consultants. We're always looking for people because we're just always growing. If you hold yourself back and only wait to the point that you are really needing to hire, then you're desperate. And then that's like when we said mistakes happen and we get people in that don't fit our culture. So
I love what you just said, because really thinking about team members is just like our hairdressers should be thinking about clients. And if we're not showing up to it like that, with it always at the top of our mind, that we don't have time to wait until we need someone. Because by the time that you need someone, you need that person, and you need them to be like 90 days in. You need them to be trained and into it by the time that you need them. So you've got to have a pipeline of people, just like hairdressers should have a pipeline of clients. Mm-hmm. And what I love about what you said is just having that constantly on your mind, where you have systems and processes set up that are just rolling all the time. And the other thing that I heard a long time ago, which was just super brilliant, and we really work to stick to this, is if you find someone and you don't have a position, or it's not perfect, but they are perfect, hire them, figure it out, it out, put them into something, slot them into something. I mean, that's how we got Bracy, because she'd reached out a year or so before she actually ended up coming on, and it just wasn't the right timing for her in life. And she ended up coming back. Well, we were not starting for another 4 months or so, but I just said, you know what, come on, work the front desk. I'll put you somewhere. And if you're good with that, like, let's go, because she was the right person at the right time. And thank gosh we did that, because she's a lifeline now, but knowing that you always should be searching, always should be recruiting, and always should just hire if you find someone who's fantastic. but it should never be a thing. You should never be in a position where you have no one that you can reach out to and no one going through that process. Because without anyone going through that process, by the time that you need someone and you've got to start recruiting at that time, I mean, just the act and the time that it's going to take at that point to recruit, then on top of it, the time that it's going to take for that person to come in, to choose, to go through the interview process. And then what you leave yourself at risk at is hiring the wrong person, because you will get desperate. And so you'll fast track their interview process. You'll fast track their thing. You'll make concessions because you feel like you have to have someone, and then you have to have them and they leave anyway, or you get rid of them. You help them leave. And we can't be in that space. It's such a waste of time, money, resources, all of it.
So, and then, sorry, I just had an epiphany. We're talking about hiring. Everything that we do in our business, so this makes me think about my stylists. Stylists always have to be trying to get new guests in their chair. It's the same concept, because we know if they're not accepting guests and all of a sudden their day falls apart, they're struggling, or they're not doing their part of trying to grow clients, and then they keep getting the crappy people, the people that they don't want in their chair. It's like, so we're coaching them all the time on you're always growing, pass out cards, do the work, do this, track your rescheduling and all that stuff. We'll take that same scenario and put it onto us as leaders. Our guests are our stylists, our employees. We're always hiring. We should be tracking how long are they staying with us. Like all the things that we have our stylists do behind the chair and their KPIs, we need to implement it for us in the business side. And it's about, like what you said at the beginning, whose fault is for hiring and retaining is us. So we have to start looking at our numbers, not just a glance. We have to be on purpose with everything we do. And as an owner, our team is our guest. Right?
Yes, I love it, Erin. I love every single part of it. Everything that you're saying is 100% right. And that was that concept of our team or our guests at that point. I mean, that was said to me years ago by someone who I had a super confronting conversation with. And he was someone that I admire and love, and he's built an incredible business. And he said, Ashley, who's your number one client? And I was like, Wendy Granado. Like I literally just, like a name just came out of my mouth. He's like, Ashley, who's your number one client? He kept asking me and I was like, like I just kept saying names. And he's like, Ashley, your number one client, you own a business. You are a salon owner who is in charge of stylists, and your number one client now is not, your number one role is not the role of a hairdresser. Your number one role is the role of the business owner. It supersedes it. Your number one client is your team. And so every single human that you are in charge of is now your number one client, and you need to serve them the way that you think about serving your clients. And it is really unbelievable that not very many people seem to live in that space. We live in a constant, I see salon owners and hairstylists fighting all the time. And there was another something that came up that, you know, if we don't start to recognize that the people in our businesses deserve a certain level of service from us, let's say, and I hear people talking about booth rent is the devil, and this is what's wrong, and this is why people are leaving, and all of this stuff. And I'm like, no, people are leaving because if the only thing that they have available to them in your business is a chair, then that's all that they need. Right. So people are leaving your business because if you only give them a chair to have in your business, they're going to go get a chair somewhere else. And there's something that Don Bewley said. It was one of the last moments that I ever spent with him. He would, and for anyone that doesn't know, Don Bewley is the co-founder of Euphoria International and the hair care manufacturer that both Erin and I are both exclusive with. But Don was just this amazing, amazing man, saw so many things, was so well studied, and just shared everything that he knew. And we were in a class and he shared this thing that I've seen a million times. It's in tons of books, but he wrote down on the board, he drew 2 lines. And so like, let's say here's the board, and there's a line right at the top and there's a line at the bottom. And above the line at the top, he wrote 20. And in the middle, he wrote 60. And in the bottom, he wrote 20. And he's like, in everything that we do, there's a top 20%, there's a bottom 20%, and there's a middle 60. And what we tend to do, because it's what's most painful, it's what's most obvious, it's what gets our gut. Like, we go directly to the bottom 20. We go to fix the problem because we feel like if we get that bottom 20, like situated and better, we take that bottom 20 and push them up into that average 60, and that's going to raise everything. It's going to make everything better because those people at the top, they're fine, they're good. And he's like, we have it backwards. We have it completely backwards. He's like, your time, energy, and effort needs to be put into the systems that you have to serve that top 20. Because if you have topped out that top 20 and all you're focusing on is building your business around the bottom 20, your business is going to die, because those people who are at the top are going to leave. They're going to leave because there's nothing else developed and available for them. And so if our industry, and I heard, and I got so mad, I heard a very, very successful man in this industry who so many people admire, and he is on every stage across the country. He laid this out, the top 20, middle 60, bottom 20. And he told that entire audience that you need to serve the bottom 20 and get them up to average. Don't worry about those top people. They're fine. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is, I mean, he's running an employee-based salon. So it's not even like, it's just crazy. But we have to get to a point where we are looking at and building our businesses around the people that are the most successful in it, so that everyone else can grow up and become more successful, rather than those people at the top feeling like they're left behind and forgotten about. Because if they're left behind and forgotten about, what's left for them? And then they're going to leave because your business isn't prepared to help them move forward the way that they need to or want to. So that was just, I think, one of those big things. If our businesses were built around our best people, instead of built around what the industry says, which is, you hire 10, expect that 7 are going to leave. I've heard people say you hire 10, expect that you're only going to keep 1. I mean, it's crazy. Why in the world am I setting up my systems to prepare myself to lose 9 out of 10 people? That is ridiculous and dumb. So, pardon me, I have no other way to say it. But
I love that.
That's the craziness to me, is like, no, look at your successes. Look at your successes and do more of that. How do you create more of those people? Is by continuing to develop those people, right?
So 100%. I literally it's so funny. That's why the whole family structure works, or the tribe structure works. And if you are doing it correctly, and you are loving on your tribe leaders, those are probably your top 20 people. You love the crap on those people. You coach them, you encourage them, you inspire them, you guide them. And then they're going to do that for the people that are underneath them. And that is their job. And your job is to make sure they are doing that for the people that are their family. But I literally just, like Jenny and I had a conversation yesterday too. So here it is, it's me. Now, the way our whole formula is falling into place, it's me. And then I have 2 babies. It's Jenny and Becky. Becky has 1 baby because she's our marketing and totally new, and goes back to your point. we weren't ready to hire somebody like Becky yet. So it was like, oh crap, we can't really afford her, but we know how great she's going to be for us. So she's on our team. We just did the bull and did it. So I have Jenny and Becky are my children. And then Jenny's got 5 and it keeps going down. Who's taking care of me at that point as a salon owner? And I think that goes to our distributors. And that's where it's like, people are so lucky to work with companies like Cool Beauty. Well, I only know Cool Beauty Infused, but you know, like it's people, that's who I look for. So I think anytime you have a hard time in your business, reflect on what you would want. Like right now, I'm like, I feel like once you're at the top, it's hard. I'm not at the top, but I'm at the point where I need somebody to coach me to get me more so that I can help my team get more what they want, you know? So anytime you're struggling in business, reflect on the feelings you're having. What are things that you need? What type of leader would you want? What type of work environment do you want to have around you? Because the people that's working with you, that's what they want. That's what they need. So just reflect that back. They're probably working there because like attracts like. So they're probably way more like you than you even thought. So if you're ever struggling, look inward first and see your wants and things like that.
Oh yeah. What's going on in your business, whatever you see that you hate, whew, that is like crazy self-reflection when you finally really pay attention to it and recognize that all of the gaps in your business, all of the weaknesses in your business, and all of the strengths in your business are likely fall in your strengths and weaknesses. And, you know, they say that you can only develop people to get to right below where you are. So if there is something that you want to be happening stronger or better in your business, you need to get stronger or better at that first. You do. So let's say the hairstylist, if you're still behind the chair and you're a salon owner and you want your team to be selling retail, but you're not selling retail, they're not going to do it. And you're not going to know how to coach them. You're going to know how to talk to them and tell them, you need to do it, you need to do it, you need to do it. But it blows my mind how many people don't participate. And what's crazy to me is salon owner hairstylists will do things or say things to their teams that they need or want them to do, that they've been coached on, told, whatever. And then they say, but I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And they continue to work in a totally different manner. And that doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's inauthentic. It's not, I mean, people are not going to believe that it's even important because it's not important enough to you to do it. Mm-hmm. So the same thing, like you want people to have a great attitude, you better have a great attitude. You want people to not talk about each other? Let me say this, salon owner. Listen to me. Stop talking about your people. I can't tell you how many back rooms that I've been in, offices that I've been in, where I have heard the way that people talk about their people. And if you want your people and that culture to get its shit together, then get your shit together. And I don't have another nicer way to say that. Like, get your life together so that your people can be together. But they can't do it if you're still one of the people or you're back in high school or whatever it is. And it may sound so simple, or we might just be like, well, I'm only human. And I'm like, you don't get to be human. Yeah, you can be human, be vulnerable, all of that stuff. But you don't get to. I had someone tell me at one point, she got really upset with me because of something that happened when we were out of town. And she had every right to be. And I was so grateful that she came and talked to me about it, because she could have just talked to everyone else about it. She came and talked to me about it. She's not happy with me. And she shouldn't have been. And she had a very direct conversation with me and told me about how it affected her and how I could be better. And reflecting on that, my initial thing, because she said it and it didn't feel fair, because it's like, I'm just human. And like, I saw you guys do it too. And your head goes into this space where it's like, you know, why can't you just let me be human? And why can't you just forgive me? And I remember us having that conversation, and she said, you know, Ashley, I don't need you to be perfect. And I looked at her, and I know her very, very, very well. She was my apprentice whenever I was one of my final apprentices when I was behind the chair. And so there's a really deep connection there. And I just said, but you don't need me to be perfect, like literally perfect, not in the way that many like perfectionists think of it, but you do need me to set a specific kind of standard. You do need me to be the type of person who doesn't let you down knowingly. You do need me to be someone that you can rely on to show you how we should behave and what we should do. And yes, if you have a moment, like apologize for it, get over it, and help move on. Make sure that you say, yeah, I was wrong and I sucked, because you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be. That's not what I'm saying. But your people do need you to be the example. And that sounds super cliche, but your people do need you to be the type of person that you are trying to get them to be.
Right.
They need you to be that first. And that's going to be the first step in your people. That's going to be the first step in the hiring, the first step in the retaining, that first step in all of it. Because if people show up to your business, and this was actually, this is another story to share that I had someone share with me that they hired someone, and there was a little backroom conversation, and the person that they hired chose to leave the business really quickly because of some things that are happening there. And all of that stuff sits with us, and we have to get that stuff situated and handled. The things have to be right in the business for the hiring and recruiting and retaining to even work.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to, because I just got really intense. Let's move on to in that hiring, Erin, because I'm sure one thing that a lot of people are curious about, it's like, where do you find people? So if you were thinking about where you were going to find people and what you were going to do, where would you go? How would you find them? What are some creative things that you've done to do that? And then what do you put out there? What do you put out there? Because that to me is one of the most important things, is in order to find the right people, you've got to put the right things out there. So where do you do this, and what do you put out?
Like, our biggest thing is we just go to the beauty schools. Like, we hit them all. And then as far as me, my social media, I try to talk to potential employees. Like, I try to give out information that would be useful to a stylist looking for a new salon home, whether it's going to be with me or wherever they go. That's my biggest thing. I mean, we don't do a whole lot. Like, I don't hire stylists that have experience. So I'm not like, now if they come, I'm open-minded to hiring somebody with experience, but so many habits have been made, and it's really hard. Like, I've had a couple, and some of them have worked, and I've had a couple that they just didn't work because it was hard to get them to break old habits. So really, we really focus our attention on beauty schools and being in them every month, and teaching and coaching. And like I said, our salon page should reflect that like our website always says we're hiring. Our social media should pop up every 6 weeks that we're hiring, just so people can always see it. Our story should be for the guests and for the future employee. And like I said, my own personal page is geared towards new hires. That's who I'm trying to speak to. And it's great if the rest of the community follows. I would love that. But my target is to help out those young stylists that are looking for their potential home, and to inspire them to know that they can really live great lives being a hairdresser, and they should be super proud of their choice in their profession. And so that's who I speak to. But I don't have the like the $500 bonus for signing on, and I don't have those things, and I hope to someday be able to do that. But right now I use the tools that I have, and that's social media, and that's this girl going out in the public.
I love that, Erin. Tell me a little bit about, so you go to a cosmetology school, because I've had a lot of people ask this question. When you go to a cosmetology school, do you show up with like glitter and sequins and you're like, we're pinup curls and we're amazing? Or what does that look like?
We show up as pinup girls. Black. We dress like how we'll dress for work. We're not like over the top. And I think people have called us a Stepford Wives before, which is totally not us. I mean, like totally not us.
Way nicer than what they've called me, and I'll share that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, we just show up, and at first it used to be a lot about pinup curls and things we do and stuff. What we realized is it's what's in it for them, not what's in it for us. So we just go and give them, we'll do a class on goal setting. And there's just an hour long little things. Goal setting, the differences in commission, booth rent, and not talking against either one, just giving them facts. So things that would be helpful for them starting their career. And then it's like, oh, you can see the wheels turning in their eyes, and the people are like, I get what you're saying. Then those are the people that after class you're like, hey, you should come and shadow sometime. And it's never too early to shadow. It's never too really early to hire somebody in beauty school too. Like if you really found the perfect person, how can you get them in your salon without actually doing hair, but starting going through the partner program? I think our last 3 have been in school. I have 2 right now that are still finishing up school. One's graduating the beginning of March and the next one's in April, but they'll already be in their process of the partner program. And they like clean and they test oils, and in Indiana you can shampoo, you just can't shampoo chemicals out. So they do a lot of our shampooing for our haircut guests. But it's really great because they get to be a part of your environment, and then they get to go practice it on people at beauty school. So that's what we do. What do you guys do? I want copy.
You know, I always ask the cosmetology instructor what the students want or what she feels like they need. And so we go in just so that way we're bringing tools with that. I mean, we always integrate business into it, but I really kind of fly by the seat of our pants when I go, and I've encouraged my team to do the same thing. They'll go in, depending upon who the person is that's going in, might be a little bit more prepared, but we're always going to use the students as models. We're always going to, if they say that they want to see updos or they want to see this, we're going to integrate business into it because that's who we are. But we'll show them a little bit of the technical if that's what they want. But it always opens up with, why did you come into this industry? I always want to hear that. I always know what the answer is going to be. I want to make people feel good is 95% of the answer. So, but it also, I can see the energy in the room, and it tells me who I need to be for them, because there are so many people going into cosmetology schools. And this is the feedback that we've gotten a million times from students, is you guys are the only ones who come in and like, let us have a voice. Everybody just comes up here and talks at us. And so there's so many people going in. There's a lot of people going into cosmetology schools, but they're going in with a me attitude, which is what you were talking about. Like, look at how great we are. You should come work for us. And it's like, no, I want to talk about how great you are. I want to talk about the opportunities available to you. I want to talk about what you really need to know that no one's told you yet. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there's always someone or 5 people who say, I want to work on movie sets, or I want to do celebrities, and I want to do all this stuff. And I look at them and I smile and I'm like, great, move to New York or LA. Like first, but nobody's told them what they're actually going to need to do that. And then they get out and it's all bobs and single process hair color, and they quit because they came into it for the glam. And it's like, you have to go through a very specific process to get to the glam. So there's just, nobody's helping anyone on their career. And so if you look at and focus on a cosmetology visit being about helping them understand and know things that nobody's telling them, that's where magic really happens. And then the people who are growth oriented will find you. The people who want and feed off of that energy, they want to grow, they want to be better, and they want to know more. Those people will find you. And that's what sits in our core values. You know, we're team-based, education-driven, guest-focused. So we're going to make sure that you see that in us whenever we're in front of you. And that is what helps attract the people who are the right people for us. But when we walk in, I want to serve every single one of those people. And let me tell you how I did it wrong. Let me just tell you how I did it wrong. So I am very intentional with my dress. Okay. Like I will, if I'm going in to present, and I've learned a lot over the years, but in the beginning, if I went in to present, like I was at the top of my game and everything, like super polished, my heels, my this, my that, everything, like my power outfits, right? So I go in, I go into a school and I'm in my power outfit. I mean, I'm just like, I'm on it. And I walk in and they are like, I don't know if you see me, but I mean, they're just like kicked back in their chair. They're not having it. They're super disengaged. They have no interest in having anything to do with me. And I'm like, I can flip them. It's fine. I got it. And so I go in and I start talking at him and I'm telling him about all this stuff that they need to know. It was really, really good stuff. And it was really important. But I made it about everything that I wanted to share, not necessarily about what they wanted or needed to know at that moment. They needed to know it, but they didn't want to know it. So I walked in and I'm in this space where I'm not relatable at all to them. And one of them got up and walked out. And so some of us, one of our girls who actually worked at the salon, she was a receptionist. She was going to go into our program. And so she came and worked at the salon in the evenings while she was in cosmetology school and on the weekends. And she was in cosmetology school and was there that day, but she was in a different class. So she wasn't in the class where we were presenting. And this chick got up and walked out and went to the classroom that she was in. And she said, she's like, oh my God, I wish these people would leave. Like they're such snobs. Like, I don't know who this chick thinks she is. Like she just went off about me. And so Allie, who was in there, was listening and she ended up sharing this with me later. And I'll tell you, at very first, my first instinct was like that little, like my first instinct was just, like her, she's awful. Well, I wouldn't hire her anyway. Like that's what goes through your head immediately. But the truth of the matter was I had to look at myself. I had to look at myself. How did I need to show up? Did I need to walk in there and be completely unrelatable and scary? Like, did I need to walk in there with my power outfit on that made me feel good? Or did I need to walk in there and be as relatable as possible? Did I need to walk in there and like shove down their throats every single thing I knew they needed to know, and I wanted them to know, and I wanted them to know that we knew? Or did I need to walk in there with just a passion and a fire to make sure that they got something out of that day? And it completely shifted everything. I mean, now it doesn't matter what I'm doing, depending upon where I'm presenting and what I need that audience to feel is how I'm going to dress and show up. What I need them to feel is going to be what I'm going to share. Like everything is going to be about the people that I'm standing in front of. And on a side note, whether you're going to cosmetology school or you're speaking in front of people, that is the way that you connect with an audience. No matter what, that is the way that you connect with your team. If you are speaking in front of your team and they are looking at you and rolling their eyes, look at yourself. What are you doing and who are you being that is creating that reaction in them? Because it's not that they suck. It's not that they suck.
Right.
People need you to be who they need you to be. Mm-hmm. And once you figure that out, the whole process of leading people, speaking in front of people, recruiting people, all of it all becomes a lot easier and more clear.
Right. Going in with the mindset of serving.
Mm-hmm.
And another little thing, get in good with the instructors. Invite the instructors into your salon and give them an experience. Just do it. Give them a shampoo in style, complimentary. Let them see what your salon's all about. They'll be more likely to talk to their students about working at your business. So
I love that. So we're going to tackle one last thing before we go, because we got to hop off in about 6 minutes. But the one last big elephant in the room, right? So one thing that we have to acknowledge is that I want people to acknowledge is we often believe sometimes that people will get in a space, people that work for us will get in a space where they're either negative or they're this or they're that, and people will talk about like when you know that it's time to fire someone. Mm-hmm. And for a long time I looked at everyone who didn't work out in the business as if they were somebody that had done a fireable offense. Like every person that worked in the business who didn't work out, I was looking at it like it was their fault and they were bad. And some of them, you know what? Some of them were bad. I had one person that I hired, like, listen to how great I was. This is right in the beginning. One person that I hired that literally was dealing drugs out of the salon. Like that is a fireable offense. But there are a lot of people along the way who either quit or we decided to part ways who really, I just wasn't what they needed yet. Fringe wasn't what they needed yet. We were not the business that those people needed. And my question to you is, when do you know that you have done enough? When do you know that there really isn't further to go, when it really is them versus you? Now I would say, and I would go into my grave with this, that 98% of the time it's you. Mm-hmm. 98% of the time it's you. But there is a 2%. There is a 2% where it just is not going to work. How do you know? What do you look for? When do you determine that? When is enough enough? And you have to make a difficult decision to let someone go or encourage them to quit because they've already quit.
I always say it's reflecting. I think first off, before I go into that, when somebody quits, you should always reflect. Reflect on how could I have been a better leader? What did we do wrong? What could we have done better? And a lot of times if I know they are quitting, I'll ask them those questions. Because it's a gift it's a gift for them to answer those. And then that's why every time somebody goes through our partner program, it's always tweet, because guess who quits the most? It's our partners. So it's like, okay, how do we strengthen it next time? And what they're saying is not wrong. It's true, and we need to implement things. So reflecting, and then how do you know when it's time to be just done? I think it's through the coaching. Numbers don't lie as well. If you're really tracking KPIs or behaviors and things like that, those are literal facts. And if somebody is not doing well, the first person you need to look to is yourself. What do I need to do to help this person? And then you coach them on it. If their numbers are still down, I would say their numbers should constantly be going up. It might not be where you expect it to, where you want it to be, but if it's climbing, then you're coaching and you're doing things right. If that number just stays stagnant or goes down, that's my sign. That's the time that it's like, this is obviously not working. But I always look to me, and I always look to whoever their leader is. That's the first person that we need to see, what do we need to tweak about us first to help this person? Because it might be, we just need to help get, maybe I'm not the best leader for this person. Maybe I need to put them in a different family. Or I need to coach that leader a little bit better. Hey, this person's more of a thinker. You're more on this other side that's intimidating to the thinker. So we need to tweak some things on how you're going to coach this person. But it's always not that person's fault. If their numbers are suck, it's us first. And so that's what is always our thermometer. It's if it's staying the same, that's not a good sign. If it's slowly creeping up, that's a great sign. If it goes down, meh.
Yeah.
But no, I really honestly haven't had to let too many people go, because we're always trying to coach them, and they will filter out. They'll let themselves go because we're just not the place for them. But I guarantee there was a lot of conversations before they finally quit. So it wasn't on our part. So I could feel good about, like, I've done everything, and I'm not going to beg somebody to stay in my business.
Right.
But I do want to learn how I could be a better leader and try to do that for them. And then if that doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's okay. I mean, it never feels good when somebody quits. And that is like a stress that I literally live with every day of my life. Is that's like always the joke. If somebody's going to text me like, hey, we need to talk,
No.
it better be followed up with, and I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to worry constantly. I hate the, hey, we got to talk. Ugh, I hate those. So I'm super conscious of that. Like, I am, like John said, fish things from the head down. So you look to yourself first. And if you can honestly say you've done everything you possibly could to do for that person, and it's still not working, then that's when you cut your losses, I feel.
100%. Erin, I love it. Thank you so much. The last thing I'm going to say is just if someone quits inside your business, it's time to move on. That's our gauge. If someone quits inside the business, it's time to move on. Thank you so much. This was so good. I love talking to you, and we're going to continue this. We are going to invite some other people on, and we're working on those things right now to make sure that that's happening. And we have great, powerful conversations happening at all times to help serve the people of this industry. And if there is anything that anyone out there, a topic that you want or someone that you want to hear from, like, let us know. We'll find them. We'll go get them for you, and we'll have some powerful conversations in this process. Thank you so much, Erin, for everything that you do. And last thing I'm going to say is, if you haven't registered for Euphoria Vision Quest, go register for Euphoria Vision Quest, and you can come see me and attract, engage, and empower. And you'll see more things about this specific topic. But we are, I'm just honored that you continue to do this and spend your time this way. And I know that I get people reach out all the time to, when we were dark for a little while, like, when's it coming back on? When's it coming back? So I just am so appreciative that you give your time to this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. I always learn so much. Got some good tips today.
Awesome. Well, you have a great day, Erin.
Oh, you too. Bye. Thank you.